Hey, welcome to the My Inner Struggle podcast. I'm Laura.
Hi, I'm Julie.
We are in week 9.
I can't believe that. I
Week
cannot
9.
believe it's been 9 weeks that
That's
we've
so
been doing. I
cool.
know.
Yeah. Last week we were talking all about living in action.
We did.
And I hope that if you had listened to the podcast that you were contemplating about what things that you're doing in your life to live in action or what you could be doing to live in action. And if you haven't had a chance to check it out yet, I would highly recommend it because I think it was a good one. I've gotten some really great feedback on that, actually, on the topic. And of course, if there's any other topic that you want to hear about, send me a message, shoot a message over on Facebook, or you can email from my website too at myinnerstruggle.com or lauraferry.com.
Yeah.
So this week, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay.
So this week, what are we talking about,
This
Julie?
week we are talking about decision making, right? The pros, the cons, all of it, the decision making.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually going to start our podcast off with a quote. I know that normally I usually end it or somewhere in the middle, and I have another one for later in the podcast. But I wanted to start it with this one because it says, you cannot make progress without making a decision.
Right.
And it's so true. Like you can't move forward, backwards, side to side, whatever, unless you decide what you're going to do, you know? Right. So decision making is, it's every day, all day.
So I'm going to bounce right off of that and kind of say one, sort of a statement that I have used many times recently. If you follow the blog or, the podcast, we probably have mentioned it there before too, because all of these topics are, relate to each other and it's all about life.
Yes. That's all.
And you can't navigate one without touching on another, really. But whatever you're not changing, you're choosing. So if you choose not to make a decision, you're literally choosing
making a decision.
You're to stay in the same place. Yeah. So I'm going to say it again. Whatever you are not changing, you are choosing. Whatever you are not changing, you are choosing. So if you are stuck in an unhappy job or relationship, or I don't know, give me a simple one.
What to have for dinner?
Yeah, like you're not, if you're not changing anything about it, then that's what you're choosing. If you're not changing, your morning routine, then that's what you're choosing. All of those things. And we touched on the morning routine a couple weeks ago too. And actually, like a little mini update, like I've been doing phenomenal. I just want to say I've been going to bed earlier. I've been waking up earlier. I don't have all of my elements in place yet, but I've definitely been made like big strides in that. And that was something that I chose to do,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
On the flip side is the last 2 mornings, we talked about this. The high school has water wars right now going on for seniors. So my daughter has been up and out of the house. Yesterday was like 6:25. This morning was 5:30. But it throws my morning routine completely off because then I'm just in this.
Why don't you explain to them what it is, why you have to get up that early? What are you doing?
What am I doing?
Yeah. You're what?
So I have to walk around the house to make sure that there's no other student hiding out there waiting to shoot Claire with a water gun, because that's, the point of water wars. Yeah. Yesterday morning, I had to take all her backpack and her softball bag and everything out to the car. And I opened up the door so she could just run out of the house. And even this morning, like I took all of her bags out and her lunch and her juice and everything, and made sure that, nobody was hiding under a bush or whatever. But it throws my whole morning routine completely off. So like yesterday, I did not get time to like unload the dishwasher in the morning, and all day I was like, oh God, I never did that. So it's crazy.
So now you know how I feel.
But it's so crazy how the simplest change can really put
it's like a ripple effect.
It is. It's like a ripple in your whole day. So, so I think water wars last for quite a few more weeks. I know my husband said this morning, he's like, is this going to be every morning? I was like, I don't know, until she's out, I guess. I don't know.
Maybe you should just hit her with a water gun in the bush.
She was a little snarky yesterday afternoon, and I was like, I won't lie. I was like,
do you have any Nerf guns at home? Every time she's snarky, you should shoot her with a Nerf gun.
Well, I was in my head, I was thinking, maybe I won't tell her if somebody's waiting outside, but I'm not going to do that because she'd be mad at me. But
so
I digress.
That was good. My senior is not doing water wars. I'm not really sure how that would fit into my life. So I'm kind of a little grateful for that.
Yeah.
So I said, whatever you're not changing, you're choosing. And I just want to say that whenever we think about a situation that we're not happy in or pleased with or whatever, when we stop and pause and kind of think about that statement, it really puts things into perspective, right?
Yeah.
So if we're like, if I could stay unhappy in my morning routine, it wouldn't hurt anybody other than myself, right?
Right.
Well, technically, right? And you think about your day and what, like we both went, changing, kind of pivoting in our careers and things like that. And so, that's one of those things that it's can be uncomfortable and scary and big, but when you break it down to whatever, how is your day impacted or,
Right.
Whatever, and making a decision, a big decision can be difficult. And one of the big things, probably my biggest thing, is making a pro and con list.
Yeah.
And so like I did that today, actually. I went and I test drove a new car. And so I'm having to make this decision, as of, what to get. And, it's kind of a big decision. And I don't really have, like, I wish my dad was around because I don't really have anyone to ask, like, oh, come with me and check this out and make sure it's like, okay. I don't really have anybody in my life that fills that role. So I don't want to get taken advantage of, pressured, things like that when you're going to like get a car. But I have to say that the car salesman was super cool and like laid back. So that really helped because immediately I'm like, like
that tension's gone.
Yes. Yeah. And so that really helped. And so like, then I test drove it. My sister came with me and I was like really grateful for that. And, I went home and I sat down, I pulled out a piece of paper and she kind of rolled her eyes at me a little bit, but, I started my pros and cons, and it really does help put things in perspective. So that is like, for me, that is like the biggest tool.
There's a couple different tools that you can do when it comes to decision making. And I'm not talking about, the mundane decision making of every day. I'm talking kind of more
because sometimes bigger. I have a hard time deciding what to have for lunch.
Yeah, but I'm talking more of like the bigger decisions. And a pros and cons list is an excellent tool to use.
Thank you, Julie.
You're welcome. The other things that you search out advice from trusted people, especially people if whatever decision it is that you're making have maybe been in your shoes.
I think
or in
that's actually key, because don't ask advice from people that have never really been in your shoes before, or you can, but kind of take it for what it is.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, and also advice from maybe somebody who hasn't necessarily been in your shoes, but who knows you well, because, they don't, at that point, they don't need to be where you are right now to kind of be like, I don't see you doing whatever it is, because they know you,
right.
Somebody that's been in your life a long time.
That can be tricky. It really depends on the relationship. So I don't discourage it, because I ask my trusted friends for advice or, an opinion on a decision all the time, because it helps give a different perspective.
Well,
just know where that perspective is coming from is key.
That's another one of the tips, is talk it out.
Oh,
right. So
like we're doing here.
So just like we're doing. So talking it out. So again, it doesn't have to be somebody that's been in the same boat as you, but maybe, and taking even your pros and cons list and talking that out loud.
Yes.
Sometimes puts a little bit more emphasis on one thing or another that just reading it on paper doesn't.
Right.
Yeah. So just a couple different ways, the pros and cons is an excellent, I know that when Claire was deciding on what college to go to, she had a whole spreadsheet of all the pros and cons, and that, to be able to look at it, oh, okay, well, this column definitely has more or whatever.
Right, because when you see it physically, like in front of you,
right,
it makes it so much easier.
Yeah.
Because we might have all those thoughts in our head, but when you actually see it tangible, like on paper or whatever, like it really does help.
Yep. But talk it out. Listen to people who have been there before, solicit advice from the people that know you best.
Yeah.
And, just try to be open-minded. Again, it's decisions impact every aspect, right?
Right. Not to add any pressure to that. Yeah. But yeah.
I thought you had like something you were going to add that was.
Oh no, I was kind of being a wise ass a little bit. Like, don't make it any worse, because I've had clients that really have struggled with making decisions, and a lot kind of stems back to confidence in a lot of ways, because you're not confident in one area. If you want to I had one client that was thinking about moving away, and she was getting advice from other friends, but they weren't really in her shoes.
No.
And so,
Yep.
like, one was very critical to her. So that was kind of painful to, like, when you have a friend that's sort of like criticizing you, which, again, we've talked about this about change. It's really a reflection of them.
Yeah.
And if they're frustrated with your lack of decision making or whatever, they really need to step back.
Sometimes too, I think when you make a decision that's best for yourself and others don't feel like it's best for you, then it kind of puts that like wedge, if you will.
It does, but
because
everybody
they want you to go this way and you've decided to go that way.
Right.
So then it makes
and
it
so
a
they
little
don't have
difficult.
control over
Right.
that. So it can get frustrating, but depending on the situation,
Yeah.
it could be both parties. It could be one part, one or the other, that's, has strong feelings about it. And it also depends on like how you live your life. Like I can ask you, like what you might think, like, what do you think I should
Yeah.
do? Like, should I buy this car or not? And you are the type of person that's going to say to me, well, actually, what would you say to me? You'd be like, well, what do you think? Do you
Yeah.
think that it's a good idea?
I'm a big go with my gut person.
Yeah.
And I mean, one of the things when I was like thinking through decision making, and one of my biggest ways I make a decision is I make a decision if it's right for me and my family, and also if it's the right thing to do. And that's just something so if it's right for you and we talked about like intuition and that gut feeling, and if something is it just doesn't feel right, then
Right.
then don't do
Right.
it,
Right. Okay, so I have an example. Should I give that example?
Sure you do, yeah.
Okay, I had a date this weekend.
I knew you were
Okay,
gonna say.
yeah. on Sunday, and it wasn't bad. He's not a bad person or anything like that. But like this whole online dating, it's deleted, by the way. It's not happening any fucking more.
You're done.
I'm done. And the thing is that I kind of knew that I didn't really want to go.
Mm-hmm.
But I was trying to push myself out of my comfort zone, going, I should give someone the benefit of the doubt. There was no red flag or anything like that. He just didn't seem all that interested. And it's kind of tricky because there are so many things at play when you're like, chatting with someone on an app.
Right.
Like, one, you worry if on both ends, like, are you going to run out of things to talk about? Right. Mm-hmm. So like, do you want to divulge everything on an app before you actually meet and see if you click? Or do you kind of just sort of say hello, kind of get to know each other, like a little bit, like the basics, like what do you do for work or whatever. But the fact that he didn't even ask me what I do for work, I should have gone with my gut and like not bothered. It didn't really matter in the end. I got a free beer, had a conversation, got out of there and got on with my day. But I should have listened to my intuition.
So, and I have something that I have been saving since she told me about said sorry date on Sunday.
Yes.
That I knew you knew the decision was wrong because you never said anything to me until after you were there.
Do you know what's
she never said, oh, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. So you knew right away.
Yeah, it was kind of
it was a bad decision, and you're like, okay, yeah, I'm not going to say anything.
Kind of right, because I
know I'm right.
I didn't tell Beth either.
Yeah.
And actually, I got the lecture from both of you.
Yep.
But
so you knew. Again, trust your gut. So
I know, and I don't like. See, the thing is I make mistakes all the time.
We all do.
But
it's
like,
part of learning.
Is it really?
It is. It's part of learning. It legit is.
Yes, but you know what? I would have kind of second guessed myself, so I knew like meeting him for a beer. There's no harm in it. Like, there's no. Like, I sat there for 45 minutes. I listened. He didn't really ask me anything. I know in my gut, like I know from experience too, like that's, I wouldn't even call that a red flag. It's just like not my person. Like they should be interested in you. They should be asking you questions, like all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, I should have followed my intuition on that one. And I didn't.
I have not talked to Beth about this, but I'm glad that she and I are on the same page.
Actually, you guys and I've never even met.
Yes, we did.
You did?
The one time.
The one time. Oh,
yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
But you guys drive the same car. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
The exact same car. So like one day you were at my house and you left and she pulled up like 2 minutes later and I'm like, it's like never left. Anyway, so part of like why I mentioned like the date thing or whatever is that if I never take a risk, I'm going to be doing the same shit all the time.
No, I think there's a big difference between taking a risk and making a decision you know is not the right one.
Really?
There's absolutely
You think that was like a bad decision? Meeting someone?
If you already, so how long had you been talking via the app?
I think it was like a couple weeks, but it wasn't
so
like
in a couple weeks. He
Yes.
never once asked you what you do for a living.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
So in a couple of weeks, he never once asked you what you do for a living, right? No. That's a bad decision.
All right. So just a full disclosure, like this dating thing is like my Achilles heel. So I
can't imagine. I know I've said it to you and I say it to my husband. I'm like, God, if anything ever happened, no, I'm good.
All right. Well, I'm going to apply this quote here to a different avenue. Okay. All right. Going out for myself in business and making a change in jobs or things like that, pursuing a career so hard so that I could afford to buy my house by myself and things like that. You have to take a risk or you will be doing the same shit for the rest of your life, period. If you are in a place that is unhappy, you need to push yourself to get out of that comfort zone.
I agree with that.
Okay, good. I hope so.
Because I think that's a very honest, true statement.
Yeah,
for sure.
I will check with you prior to going on any more dates. I promise.
I know you don't need to check with me or need my approval.
I obviously need both the approval of you and Beth.
And again, it wasn't so much the approval, but it was I knew you knew you were making the wrong decision, which is why you didn't say.
It's kind of like in a way, it was almost like regressing back to being a teenager. Like I didn't tell my parents that I was going out wherever it was that I wasn't really supposed to be going to. Yeah. That's kind of what it feels like. Actually, when I think about you and Beth, and I know that I'm gonna get like scolded, but
just as a mom side note, if I may, okay. For anybody who is online dating and meeting up with anybody should know that you're going to go meet somebody new that you've never met before in your life, and maybe just the general area.
I think I did tell someone. I can't remember who it was. No, I definitely did. Okay. Because I definitely did. And Beth has my location. Was it the dog?
Because that doesn't count.
It wasn't the dog.
Okay. I'm just making sure because that doesn't count.
No.
That can't help us tell the police.
I might have told my sister, quite honestly.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's good. But part of the decision making are the different impacts that it has, right? So
I feel like I just got shamed.
You just got in trouble. She just got in trouble. But it impacts so many different, decision making. It impacts so many different areas of your life, whether it's business, personal, health, fulfillment, happiness, all of it. All of it. And I read something, it said, there's no right or wrong decision. There's only decisions to be made. It said something like that. And I was like, you know what? It makes sense because when you're in making a decision, you're like, is this the best thing I can do right now? And sometimes it's almost like a leap of faith. You're like, you know what?
Very often I would say.
With what information I have right now and everything that I know around the situation, this is the course of action I'm going to take. And sometimes it doesn't work out.
I'm sorry.
And I think that's where the risk part of making a decision comes into play. But I still think that consciously you're making a decision, whatever it looks like.
Based on faith almost.
Based on faith.
So I think I would say, for me, all of the different elements on making a decision, let's not talk about the date. Let's talk about actual life decisions, right? Mm-hmm. Purchasing a car, purchasing a house, deciding to leave a job or get a new job or, whatever. Pros and cons lists, definitely a good tool. Absolutely. So I usually always start there. And then I educate myself on everything that I can possible. So like I'm thinking about this car, right?
So reviews and
like,
safety.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And my finances, right? So like where is my top? Like where, like, what's my cap? Where do I not want to be uncomfortable? Right? So, and then if all of that information aligns with where you want to go, there's your leap of faith and go. I had this boss for a long time. that would get stuck in analysis paralysis. He was afraid to make a decision, and it was definitely in his personal life too. I remember when they were redoing their kitchen, it took like a couple of years, and like, because it was kind of like, I don't know, I'm gonna have to live with this, and sometimes that can do more harm than good if you just sit there in that contemplation zone. And sometimes you stay there longer than others, and I think if you can get educated and put all of those elements together, that's the best way to make a decision.
Research.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whatever it is, research.
Whether it's good or bad information that you find out, it doesn't really matter, because that's going to lead you to making the right decision. And maybe, maybe you'll make a mistake.
Oh,
that's okay.
I guarantee you'll make a mistake. There's no way.
No, but that's how we learn. Yeah. You fail forward. You make mistakes. You figure out the right formula, and then that brings you to the next step.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I 100% agree. If nobody ever made a mistake, you wouldn't have second chances. You wouldn't have, nobody would change jobs. Nobody would search out love again after a heartbreak. It's just, you have to. It's just, that's part of life.
I agree.
I
agree.
But so funny, because my other quote I have, it says, "May your decisions reflect your hopes, not your fears."
Okay. Yeah, right? That's
I know.
I'm absorbing it right now. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because you don't want to make a decision based on fear. That's never the right one.
It's never going to be the right decision.
To go back to a place where you're comfortable.
Right. So yes, you may be comfortable, but you're not happy, you're not fulfilled.
No, because there's a reason that you left that fucking situation. Yeah. Right. So yeah, that was a good one.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
So I'm gonna just relate this, this car thing. So I'm really fucking excited because it's been a little bit. I've been trying to gain some footing and stuff like that. I had to turn in my lease, and then I was like, I don't know what I want to do and all of this stuff. And so to think about the fact that, I test drove this, it's kind of a different sort of thing that I normally would do. And I'm not going to say what it is, because I don't know if I'm going to do it yet or not.
Okay.
But it's stepping outside my comfort zone and kind of like the life that Laura wants to lead and what it looks like. I've been on my way there. And in the last week or so, things have been happening and changing. And they have been all along, but it was these, you have those baby steps or little signs that it's okay, this is going in the right direction, and then all of a sudden all these things happen. And to know that by Friday, that's one more thing that's off my list.
Yeah.
And it is a big decision, but you know what? I think I feel really good about it. And there's no anxiety about it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's key.
Yeah. So when I was buying my daughter a car, a few months ago, I felt pressure. I definitely felt pressure. And in the end, she loves her car, and I'm so glad that she has it. But that didn't feel quite the same as today did, without a doubt.
Yeah.
And so I would have, if I went in there today, but I had that experience. Right. So now
now you know what to look for.
Exactly.
And you're
no
prepared.
Sleazy car salesman. Yeah. I can't stand that. I don't like the high pressure, and this kind of just, flowed, and I love that. Yeah.
I'm glad that you had a good experience.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. I'm really excited.
You should be. It's exciting things.
Yeah.
So let's talk about next week.
Yeah. Do you remember what the topic is for next week?
I don't remember off the top of my head, and the board is so far away.
It is far away, and I can't read it either. So I guess it's a mystery.
It's a mystery.
Actually, maybe we could do a reel and we'll reveal it. That would be exciting.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
So I'm so glad that you're here with us, and we have more viewers now than we ever had before.
That's amazing.
And our podcast is growing. The Facebook audience is growing by the day. Yeah. If you're not following My Inner Struggle on Facebook, find it, look it up, follow it. Lots of great information, entertainment, lessons, daily mantras, all sorts of things, discussion. If you have a topic that you would like covered, please shoot us a message either on Facebook or go to the website. What else?
The blog.
The blog. Oh, yes. And go to the blog. It's been a little bit, but I think I have some things brewing.
Yeah.
So, have a great week.
Have a good week.